Welcome to the X's and Argos film session for Week 8, Game 6 of the Toronto Argonauts 2022 regular season. My name's Ben Grant. This past week at BMO Field, both McLeod Bethel-Thompson and Caleb Evans had great games, and yet both offenses struggled to put up points. There's more to it than this, but the primary reason for this was the stellar play of the defensive lines on both teams. In three-down football, all it takes is one outstanding play from a defensive line to stall a drive. If it's on first down, then teams are put in a position where they need to convert 2nd and 15 or 2nd and 20. If it's on second down, then a punt usually follows. So let's take a look at how the defensive lines disrupted play this past Sunday. There's nothing more disruptive than an elite pass rush coming from the blind side. We're going to take a look at Shane Ray here. And if you're not familiar with the term blind side, it refers to a movie that I've watched one too many times, but it refers more specifically to the left side for a right-handed quarterback and the right side for a left-handed quarterback. See, when a quarterback's in a passing position, a right-handed quarterback can't see the rush coming from his left, just because of how the human body is shaped. And so here we've got Shane Ray. He's coming from the blind side, so he uses pure speed, and you can see how dangerous this is. Evans has no idea he's coming. Ray he causes a fumble, and this isn't by accident. A pass rusher coming from the blind side, they're taught to chop at the ball as part of their tackle, as part of that same movement. And that's what Ray does here. Most of the time, the defense is going to recover a quarterback's fumble. The Argos did not have any manner of luck on Sunday. This one bounces right back up to Evans as he's being brought down. But it's a fantastic play from Shane Ray. Very similar effort here from Onyeka. Philip Blake actually had a really good game at tackle, but he gets beat around the edge on this one by a very fresh Onyeka. He was rotating in with Bryce Carter. This is a pretty dangerous play. McLeod's actually really lucky not to have been injured. It's bad enough when a blindside rush gets through clean, but Darius Bladek also gets beat with a nice swim move from Cleon Lang. And so as McLeod is being wrapped up, Lang crushes him from behind. And at least this wasn't a high-low hit, but you never want to see your quarterback get hit at all, but especially not from a combined 560 pounds of angry, and that's what we got going on here. Let's just go back for a second to look at that swim move from Lang. If you're not familiar with the term swim move, it looks just like a freestyle or front crawl swimming stroke, that's the name. So you can watch Lang's right arm here to identify it. There's some more details, and we can't really see them all in this shot, but a defensive player, they usually want to grab your outside shoulder and sort of pull through and then swim over. It's effective because it allows the defender to reposition themselves on like one side of the offensive lineman instead of being lined up true. And it's pretty tough to slow down a powerful guy like Lang when you're no longer in front of him. So that's the benefit of the move. There's a few ways you can defend it. Ideally, you strike first with your extended inside hand, and that prevents him from being able to grab your shoulder in the first place. But failing that, as soon as you see the defender's armpit, you strike it. When that armpit is visible, that's their most vulnerable moment. The defender's most vulnerable moment, because they're standing tall, they're off balance. And if you can strike them hard in the armpit, you can use their momentum to carry them outside, carry them further away from the quarterback, or even knock them backwards. It sounds easy, but you never know what move is coming. It all happens so fast. Offensive linemen study film nonstop of defensive linemen's moves because they need to know what's in their arsenal, what to expect. But you can study all you like. This thing happens lightning fast. It's pretty tough to defend. Here's another Shane Ray highlight. But I actually kind of thought Sam Achimpong should get credit for the sack on a bit of a technicality. Ray definitely deserves it, but these interior guys, they don't get the same glory, so I'm always pulling for them, especially a guy like Sam. So even though Ray does pick up the sack, I want to show you why I would give this to Sam. He's technically the guy that makes Evans fall. So Ray's coming from the blind side. Evans is looking to hit a receiver on the left, so he actually catches a glimpse of Ray in his periphery, and he makes this great evasive move. Ray he does just enough to get Evans to lose his balance, and he probably would fall eventually, but we don't know this for sure. So it does get credited to Ray because I guess Evans technically does go down, but it's really just off balance from Ray, and it's Acheampong's body that causes Evans to fall. So I want to give that sack to Acheampong, but what a move from Ray. And look at the work that Acheampong does to get into the backfield too. So yeah, if I'm the official scorer, I give this one to Sam, but giving it to Ray is probably the correct call. Let's look at Gregor McKellar here. He had a good game, a great game if you consider he's a rookie. This play is one of the few mistakes he made, and it's the only sack I pinned on him. He had a couple other mental mistakes or timing issues, but this is the only sack that I really can say definitively, yeah, this is on him. Coleman's a pretty tough matchup for anyone just because of his strength and speed, but he's got to be 3 bills, so you can't make any mistakes against a guy like him. I think there's a brief hesitation for McKellar because the Argos are in a tight end set. Remember, McKellar is very new to playing guard. With Cross lined up outside, the alignment of the defensive line is slightly different. And I think that McKellar is anticipating a stunt just because of the alignment of the end. He doesn't get the stunt. And as soon as right here, this moment, as soon as he stops his feet, right here, he's dead. And we're going to talk about setting the shelf in a few plays, but you can't hold your ground from this upright, flat-footed position. Even if you're a big, strong guy like McKellar, this is too tough a pass rush. Now, let's take a look at this play as a whole. They're sending 5, and we got 60 protection. So they're in cover 1, and this is actually going to be a bit of a problem for the offense because the MAC has Harris in coverage, but that's going to muddy the waters because Harris has the MAC in terms of blitz pickup. So it essentially makes this a 5-man rush versus 50 or 5-man protection. When you're pass blocking, you're trying to create a pocket. And I know that's a term you've definitely heard before. But what does a pocket look like? Well, it depends a little bit on the drop, but ideally the center and guards, they're going to set the shelf about 3 or 4 yards deep. You really don't want to go much further than that. Tackles, meanwhile, are going to ride their man to the outside. It ends up creating this sort of pocket shape or a U shape. And this is the space within which a quarterback can comfortably operate. Now let's watch this play, and I want you to tell me, let's just watch it without me talking for a second. I want you to tell me why this is a sack. I'll be quiet. You just watch this through once. So where's the breakdown? So Lorenzo Malden gets credit for the sack. But is this really on Dejon Allen here? Let's look at it again. The main problem is the interior. There's no shelf. Remember we just talked about that? There's no shelf at all. Bladek's one-on-one with Coleman. We know that's not easy, but look at the ground he loses. And the bigger problem is on the other side of the interior, Lang. He should be double-teamed by Lawrence and McKellar. But McKellar doesn't really block anyone. So Lawrence ends up on skates. This is a terrible matchup, a center versus a tackle like Lang. So then the question is, why doesn't McKellar block anyone? McKellar, I believe, is responsible for Williams in whatever protection they called here. I think Williams is his responsibility. But in this situation, he just can't wait for him there. You remember last week, I used the term, I can't believe I'm bringing this up again, because I used the term peep block, and I told you not to remember that term because I'm the only one outside of Mississippi that uses it, so it's not useful. I'm bringing it up again. So this, I think, should have been a peep block. So we got a double team here until Williams engages, and that way McKellar's not just standing around blocking nobody. So they should double team Lang. And then if Williams attacks to this side, it's McKellar. He peels off and picks up Williams. But if Williams comes to this side, then it's Lawrence. Lawrence peels off and McKellar takes over with Lang. And that would have been way better than what happens here. So Allen ends up getting dinged for this sack allowed, but it's hard to blame him. He's 10 yards deep before Malden circles in and finishes this play. This is my favorite clip. This clip is the probably the whole reason I decided to look at defensive line this week. There's not really a lot to break down. Remember me saying a minute ago how unfair it is to leave a center one-on-one with Lang? How about leaving your center one-on-one with the CN power, Sean Oakman? This is just a three-man rush, and we could call this a coverage sack. Normally you would. When a three-man rush gets home, usually that's a coverage sack. I've got one of those coming up in a minute. This is not a coverage sack. This is I don't know. This is a monster movie. This is a three-man rush where you have to sort of question the laws of physics and also what these two guards are doing. Both of these guys, no one's mugging. There's no one else even in the box. How do you not have an automatic double on Oakman? I feel sorry for Darius Siracco here because there's no magical technique he could have employed. He's trying to anchor, but there's no stance, there's no footwork, there's no hand placement that's going to stop a freight train. Oakman just picks him up like Finn McCool and uses his corpse as a weapon to hit Evans with, and he causes a fumble with Siracco's body. And then somehow Oakman, with Evans and Siracco lying underneath him, manages to tackle Jacob Ruby, who'd recovered the fumble, and he tackles him with just one hand. Shane Ray's an innocent bystander. He's just doing his job when all three men come crashing down on him. Ray actually has an amazing change of acceleration here. And in a normal world, this would have been Ray's sack, but Sean Oakman does not exist in a normal world. I know I've probably spent too long in this play already, but it's so rare to see a player record a sack, a forced fumble, and a tackle on a play in which he used another man's body as the vehicle through which it was all achieved. So yeah, it's worth watching a few times. All right, now here is our classic coverage sack. So we've got Shane Richards in at right tackle now, and it's his guy that eventually comes through, but they do hold up for 3 seconds. This is really tough, just situationally. It's cover two man or man two. What that means is every receiver is in man coverage, so every defender's covering a man, except Ottawa's also got two deep defenders. They're playing deep half, they're helping over top. So not only is everyone in man coverage, there's also two extra defenders helping out, one on either side of the field. Draw plays are great against this defense. Running in general is the way to go against this defense, but the Argos just weren't in a position where they could do that. They're down 10 late, and they needed to start forcing it a bit. And so that's why we got that sack. I want to end with a great play from each quarterback, despite there being an excellent pass rush. So let's start here with Ottawa and Evans. So Robbie Smith's going to come flying around the outside. Hendricks is going to come plowing up the middle. And let's just watch this through. He's actually going to get some jersey, but he doesn't quite have enough grip to pull Evans down. He escapes. He ends up giving Ackland enough time to get lost in coverage in the end zone. But take a look at the other side of things here from the end zone and the camera, the tight film. You can see, he just misses being able to pull him down. And Oakman would normally be right here waiting, but Ruby stays with him really nicely through the spin move. And now there's this big gap between Oakman and Smith that Evans can get through. Chris Edwards is going to give him a huge shot at the end, but Evans will happily trade that hit for a touchdown pass. And that is making something out of nothing. This is a beautiful play from Evans. And we will end with McLeod Bethel Thompson. So this is the old kitchen sink blitz, Mad Dog blitz, Super Viper helicopter blitz, where Ottawa is sending 8 guys against 7-man protection. You can't stop it. There's too many guys. There's going to be a free runner, but you want your free runner to come from the outside, not the inside. You're trying to maximize the amount of time before your quarterback gets inevitably hit. You're just hoping it's long enough to allow him to get rid of the ball. So everyone's pinching in and bracing. It looks like an action movie. Reminds me a little bit of Jon Snow, Game of Thrones, trying to withstand the charge. Bethel Thompson knows he's going to get hit. He stands tall in there long enough to put it in a spot that only Banks can get to. The nice thing about throwing against cover zero is that you don't have somebody coming out of nowhere. You can take the best matchup you've got without fear and know exactly who you're throwing to and who's in coverage. And McLeod loves go routes against zero. So let's watch this from the end zone camera and see how this gets picked up. It gets picked up really, really well. Let's watch Blake and Cross. Look at Blake first, just on this side here. Blake's going to take his guy and then extend his hand just to slow down the second guy who doesn't get a piece of McLeod Bethel Thompson because of Blake's heroics. And Cross is playing the role of hero on the other side. I'll rewind this back again. Just watching Cross now, engages with his man, and then Levels is going to come out of here. He extends his hand to get a piece, slow down. Actually, it's not even Levels. That's Randall Evans. Slow down Randall Evans. And watch Andrew Harris. We'll slow this down even more. Andrew Harris is just going to blow up Randall Evans. If they're sending this much heat, somebody's got to be punished. You've got to stand in there and do whatever you can to discourage them from coming like that again, to slow down these raging animals. The only thing I don't like on this play from the O-line is something Lawrence does. So I don't know if this was a conscious decision or not. It looks to me like he decides to sink, who's 97 here? Hornbuckle, I think. So sink moves are usually something you see a defensive tackle do when he's being double teamed by two O-linemen, where he'll actually sort of grab them and bring them down with him. This so rarely gets called, and it's a great way of preventing from an O-lineman from getting up to the second level. You don't see it a lot with O-linemen because usually it's going to get called holding. It's executed well enough here that it doesn't get called. What I don't like about it is I worry about a quarterback's knees. This is essentially how Joe Burrow had every ligament in his knee torn with a lineman, his own lineman, like bowling backwards into him. In fairness to Lawrence, Bethel Thompson doesn't take a drop at all here. He doesn't retreat at all. Just from the place that he receives the snap from is the place he throws from. So Lawrence isn't expecting him to be this close. Now, all in all, this is a great job from the offensive line. Way to pick up this 8-man blitz with 7 guys, and it's an amazing throw. And that's McLeod Bethel Thompson just having the confidence of a warrior, standing in there and being able to deliver a perfect ball. So we made our way through a lot of plays today, but I think that speaks to how well both defensive lines were playing. Thanks so much for watching this X's and Argos film session. My name is Ben Grant. I will see you next time.